Hello, hello, and welcome to Technology Today, powered by ohmtown.com, the news aggregator that's all news, no noise. Today is April 28th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 10. Today we're going to be talking about Equitable Gaming, Energy Smart Bricks, Cork Oil Sponge, Solar Sail Test, Psyche sends back data, Tess finds a rogue planet, dark energy erosion, creating mammoths, breaking the oil habit, and Dragonfly mission to Titan. I am Mayor Watt, and all around me and ohmTown is the sentient AI from the future that cannot do visual anything.
Even when I try. Good evening, hometown citizens.
Again, all of this is powered by ohmtown.com. It says the bit rate is really low, but I'm sending out at 6,500 kilobits per second. So that's
Maybe
inside
my
baseball.
bit rate is slow.
And we don't edit, so what you see is what you get. Let's get into today's articles. So I'm gonna try and get the show done in under an hour, because I promise that each show not promise, I respectfully attempt to try to get the show 10 articles in 1 hour. Okay, sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, we're going to be at lightning speed here.
There we go. So the first article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. Can touchless tech create equitable gaming? The article is over at BBC. For many people, grabbing a mouse or games controller, or game controller, I'm not sure why it says games controller, to operate their computer is second nature. The article is over at bbc.com by Paul Carter. Technology Today is a weekly show, so you'll find articles that are up to a week old, and then we break that and we do a new show, basically whatever day it is till the day before. That's our timeline. So it says here, however, for some disabled people, it can be a challenge or even impossible. There are alternative input methods such as eye tracking, but they often require specialized equipment. While gaming giants such as Sony have designed accessible controllers for their own consoles, they don't work for everybody, which is where software like motion input and the concept of touchless computing come in. So the aim is to allow anyone to play any game using only standard laptop equipment. But that isn't now always an option. The one thing that is now pretty much always available is a webcam, so users can choose whatever facial expressions or physical gestures suit them and their inputs and their needs, and it's inputted into their computer's webcam. So for example, pulling a fish face can represent a right click, or raising your eyebrows could be a double click. This is It's a British article, so pulling a fish face is the whole kind of a thing, right? You know, I don't even know what the lexicon is for pulling a fish face in the United States. I don't think you say
I have
pulling
no idea what that is.
Making a fish face. So Professor Dean Muhammad Ali, Professor of Computer Science at University College London, has led development of motion input over the last 4 years with the help of more than 200 students. And he said it democratizes previous technologies, enabling children to play games using their own body movements, and an example of equitable computing.
Okay, so I really like this for kids. As adults, even though they're missing out, they can probably understand why, maybe more so than a kid. But I also like that they get to pick the facial inputs.
Yeah, and while this is being aligned with children to play games, I think that this actually, it says equitable computing. I think that is enabling computing, really. It's
right,
making it possible.
Workforce, any number of things.
Yep. And I think the big picture here is it goes beyond that, but the simple fact is that motion input allows them to play games, which increases quality of life and just personal enjoyment in general. I can imagine countless hours, playing games. I know that for me, I've lost many a 3-day weekend when I was young to playing Baldur's Gate and other games. So I can imagine doing this. So they say, the author here says that they got to try motion input for themselves, mainly on popular games like Minecraft and Rocket League, but also on more complex titles such as Doom and Forza Motorsport. It took practice and perseverance to master the intricacies of some of the control methods, and now they can play Minecraft with their eyes, even if they could not quite avoid crashing into the odd virtual cow. So pretty cool. I dig this. What makes this personalized tech possible is artificial intelligence. This is something that we've talked about before. The simple fact that you can personalize your artificial intelligence really empowers the person who's using the AI, because it becomes a known partner in whatever enterprise you're doing. And this will become eventually more and more popular. Have billions of silos of AI that know you and are personal to you and understand your particular needs. I think it's spectacular. Then eventually they'll all be able to talk to each other, and you'll get a single, unified, holistic, sentient AI that understands the nuance of the human condition. Wouldn't that be spectacular?
That would be really cool, because that might be exceeding what some humans can do.
I guarantee you it exceeds what humans can do. So in the context of gaming, it's important that computers and consoles are accessible for individuals, something that has been particularly evident in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Games can reduce feelings of social isolation and support positive mental health, and people with accessibility issues deserve opportunities to engage in gaming. Absolutely. So the author, or not the author, but Dr. Lindsay Shepard, senior lecturer in cybersecurity and human-computer interaction at Alberta University, agrees. She notes similar efforts led by charities such as Special Effect and Able Gamers, which I believe, I'm not sure. I won't speak out of turn, but I think Hermitcraft or Co-Carnage did something with Able Gamers, I think.
Okay.
Who work with developers to create custom controllers, are also helping disabled gamers have better experiences. But that may not be true. I'll have to look at and make sure, but I thought I remember him doing a little event. But she said accessible technologies had to remain easy to use and affordable if they were to be developed more widely. So I think that this is really important. We should be using technology to advance the human condition and make life better. Even if we don't want to make that claim, like, oh, technology is making life better. My life isn't worse, but it can certainly provide an outlet for someone who may want to be able to play a game and they can't play the game. Stardew Valley, for instance, be a hell of a lot of fun. You wouldn't happen to have found something?
I was going to say, Co-Carnage has certainly done several charity events, but I couldn't find a specific one on that topic. But it's probably because I didn't go through enough results.
Yeah, he's pretty prolific, so good on him. And thanks, BBC, for having this article posted, raising awareness about the need. Again, Paul Carter over at bbc.com. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Energy smart bricks keep waste out of landfill. Energy engineers have invented energy efficient bricks with scrap materials, including glass, that are normally destined for landfill. Will Wright over at RMIT University put this article together. It's published at techexplorer.com.
So I didn't realize that bricks really went into landfills. I mean, I know pretty much everything does, but I would have perhaps assumed that they reuse them.
Well, I think that this is actually, it's material. They're making bricks out of material that would have been thrown into the landfill.
Okay. Got it.
And just to be sure, bricks, construction materials absolutely go into the landfill. It's just usually in a different section because it's usually high density materials, or it's toxic, like, well, not necessarily toxic,
like asbestos or something.
fiberglass, things like that that aren't easily, I guess, decomposed or something like that. But hell, the landfill it's different kind of materials, but there is usually a construction waste area. So RMIT University engineers collaborated with Visy, Australia's largest recycling company, to make bricks with a minimum of 15% waste glass and 20% combusted solid waste, or ash. So they incinerate it, mix it with glass, and it creates this, which is basically like a metamorphic brick. So it's not only glass, but it's a bunch of other composite materials. It's got a high carbon footprint, I'm sorry, it really does. And I would prefer that glass get reused in and of itself than put into bricks. You can use something else. And it's only 15% waste glass. But glass
right, but it's a step in the right direction.
True. But the total composite here is actually only 35%. So with all glass,
let's up it.
yeah, with all glass, you can reuse, just like aluminum, a lot of steel, but a lot of materials can be entirely recycled again and again. The only thing that really has to come out is the slag, the impurities that make glass less clear, transparent, translucent. But if you want to recycle glass indefinitely, you can. It just takes a particular type of process. So I don't know. I'm not really hip to it, but it says that it's an energy efficient brick. But in the process of doing this, you have to make it, and fusing glass and solid waste with something else, it says, as substitutes for clay. So
right, but the firing process reduces temperatures, which I know is not the only aspect to it, but I mean, it sounds like the process is reasonably eco-friendly.
So I find it really interesting. I'd have to do a little bit more research into this particular solution, because to me it says it can reduce the firing temperature by up to 20% compared to standard brick mixtures, offering potential cost saving to manufacturers. But what is the engineering other side of this? What is the durability of these things? Can it actually survive like earthquakes and water management?
Right, we don't have enough info.
Yeah. And reducing this belies the total actual creation process, like what all is involved in managing. So it says up here, 20% combusted solid waste, or ash. Where are you getting the ash from? Some other process, or are you burning stuff to create this ash?
Right, to do this. I mean, my expectation is that this already exists and they're taking something, but we don't know that.
Yeah,
it does say that it meets standards, so that's a good start. I think that was farther down in the article.
Gotcha. So yeah, it says bricks play a key role in preventing energy loss from buildings. We can also produce lightweight bricks in a range of colors, from white to dark red, by changing our formulations. Our bricks manufactured from industry waste meet state environmental regulations, but that doesn't mean much.
No, but it says it met structural durability and environmental sustainability.
Yeah, I think that there's some verbiage at play here. But again, diverting this waste into bricks with added insulation rather than landfill is another way that we are powering the circular economy. Again, I've always felt weird about these recycled bricks and building materials, because they use waste materials. You have to verify these materials are not going to be off-gassing in perpetuity, that there isn't some weird chemical in it. That means you have to process it. That makes this wildly expensive. So I don't know how much the overall cost would be, but this is a lab thing. So the article has a bunch of different research papers. Construction and building materials is where it's being published into, or materials in civil engineering. It's another journal, or case studies in construction materials. This is where all of this is focused. But it says utilizing rejected contaminants from the paper recycling process and fired clay brick production. There's all kinds of stuff in here. And this little article barely touches it.
It does answer the glass issue because it's focused on glass pieces that cannot be reused into making bottles, etc. So,
all right. Yeah, it's interesting. There's questions. But again, this is a research project that is saying that it can do this. Are they actually doing this? Is it in production? Have they done all of the other tests? Is there a material sheet that says this is its component parts, etc.? Yeah. All right.
You'd have to do all the research yourself to get all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like asking
valid
AI.
questions.
Yep. Let's talk to the AI. It'll hallucinate the answer and we'll all be wrong together. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Accidental discovery transforms cork into eco-friendly oil sponge. And I assume that by transforming cork into eco-friendly oil sponge, they're talking about the material cork and not the place.
Hopefully that's the case.
Treated cork has higher absorbance, harnesses sunlight to trap oil in minutes. Oil spills are deadly disasters for ocean ecosystems. They can have lasting impact. So what time is it? 8:17 on the East Coast. It is no shit news at 8:17. The article, though, is by the American Institute of Physics, and it's posted by scitechdaily.com. Oh, that just looks so delicious. You just want to scoop that up and take a big swig of it, huh?
For those in the podcast, it's an oil spill picture.
There's some high viscosity oil. There's some foamy bubbles. And it says laser treated cork.
You can get all your major food groups.
Yeah. And it lubricates your chassis. Laser treated cork proves effective and sustainable for oil spill cleanup, quickly separating oil from water without chemical dispersants. That's actually quite fascinating. So in Applied Physics Letters by AIP Publishing, researchers from Central South University, Huaisheng University of Science and Technology, and Ben Gurion University of the Negev used laser treatments to transform ordinary cork into a powerful tool for treating oil spills. Yeah, it says here that they wanted to create a non-toxic, effective oil cleanup solution using materials with a low carbon footprint, but their decision to try cork resulted from a surprising discovery. In a different laser experiment, we accidentally found that the wettability of the cork processed using a laser changed significantly, gaining super hydrophobic or water repelling and super oleophilic oil attracting properties after appropriately adjusting. Sorry?
So how did this actually materialize? Right? Like they had the cork, then they spilled a bunch of water on it and spilled a bunch of oil on it, right? All of that was accidental. What was going on in that lab?
A hell of a party. It's interesting, right? Hold on, let me do something real quick. Okay. So, after appropriately adjusting the processing parameters, the surface of the cork became very dark, which made us realize that it might be an excellent material for photothermal conversion. So combining these results with the eco-friendly recyclable advantages of cork, we thought of using it for marine oil spill cleanup. To our knowledge, no one else has tried using cork for cleanup of marine oil spills.
So what are they going to do? Like put cork rafts out or something when this occurs?
Essentially, I've done it with felt. So like a commercial high grade felt, it's wildly expensive to use felt though. So I never pursued any more into that, but maybe it was just my samples, my request, my particular mill that I acquired of material. So this is exactly what it would do. It'd sop up because it's oleophilic. It would uh, drink up the oil and it would leave the water on the surface, which is really fascinating. Normally, what goes on is you put a dispersant and it gloms onto the dispersant and sinks to the ocean floor, never to be seen again until it ends up on a beachhead in some other country. But hey, out of sight, out of mind. It's the cat fallacy. If I can't see you,
even
obviously,
if your tail is sticking out from behind the curtain or the furniture,
your entire body is outside the curtain, but your head is behind it. Anyway, laser treatments not only help to better absorb oil, but also to keep water out is the nuts and bolts of this. And when the cork undergoes fast pulsing laser treatment, its surface microstructure becomes rougher. This micro to nano level roughness enhances hydrophobicity, so it becomes afraid of water.
well, that's what it means.
Yeah, so I think this is actually pretty cool. I don't know about, it says it's recyclable. Cork comes from the bark of cork oak trees, which can live for hundreds of years. These trees can be harvested about every 7 years, making cork a renewable material, except that it isn't. I mean, it is and it isn't. You have to keep the tree
it's like
growing.
Sustainable if you have enough of them and you're rotating them. And...
yeah. When the bark is removed, the trees amplify their biological activity to replace it and increase their carbon storage. So harvesting cork helps mitigate carbon emissions, except that it's taking nutrients from the ground. Eventually, it needs nutrition. So this might be like singularly thought of. So what is it actually doing to the soil that it's in long term? I mean, 7 years is not long term in the grand scheme of a tree's existence. I don't know. You want to keep going?
Sure.
So it's interesting, and I like the idea of it as long as there is more to it. This is one of those things like those buckyballs where people were like, oh my God, light doesn't get out of these insect generated buckyballs, and it's because of this. Something gets trapped inside it, so it doesn't get out. It's almost acting like whatchamacallit, like the meniscus capillary action. It's grabbing onto the sides and holding onto it. Water doesn't do it, but oil does. It's kind of interesting because it gets trapped inside these little pockets, but the water falls out.
Yeah, if they can do this on a large scale, and if cork trees aren't causing other problems, like maybe they're planted with other things that balance out like whatever offset. The cork is taking.
Like crop rotation.
But I don't know that, right?
Yeah. What else I'd like to know is what they do with these oil-laden cork mats.
Correct. Like I'm wondering if they're, for instance, sometimes maybe they're made out of recycled cork, but once they have the oil soaked into them,
they're done.
They're right. I mean,
yeah, interesting. Maybe it says making the oil easier to collect. Maybe you can remove the cork from the
like
oil.
Drain it off of it or something.
Yeah, squeeze it. Hopefully without destroying the cork, but who knows. Let's keep going though. Interesting questions. Definitely an interesting solution. And again, I mean, it is a renewable, semi-sustainable solution. So this next article is over in the model.
It's better than plastic or something.
Tell me about it. Or oil spills. How about we stop doing oil spills?
Well, that would be the real solution.
Sorry, I know that's a silly response, but hey, when you come right down to it, I'm pretty silly. So the next article is over in the Mobile channel. Let me grab this real quick and throw it into... Oh, no, I did. Okay, it's already in chat, folks, so you can follow it. NASA launches solar sail to test sunlight-propelled space travel. A new experimental mission by NASA is now flying in orbit, aiming to use photons from the sun to propel its way to higher altitudes. Science fiction is what I just read. Because solar sails have been implemented in science fiction for quite a long while. But apparently, we're trying to do this now.
This looks like
Robbie.
Foundation.
Yes. Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. It's science fiction is, it's a documentary. So Gizmodo.com is the source of this. Passant Robbie is the author. The deck statement says the mission rode aboard Rocket Lab's Electron, reusing one of the rocket's boosters for the first time. Apparently, it says on April 24th at 8:33, Rocket Lab's Electron blasted off at 6:32 p.m. ET on April 23rd, successfully delivering both payloads to low Earth orbit. The short delay was on account of issues with ground equipment. The objective,
which could have used some solar sails, right?
I suppose so. Yeah. Open them up, shoot it up into the low Earth orbit from Earth. The Advanced Composite Solar Sail System, or ACS-3, is scheduled for launch on Tuesday during a launch window that opens at 6 p.m. So it actually did it. Sorry about that. They work the same way as a sailboat's boom, except that they're designed to catch the propulsive power of sunlight rather than wind. Once unfurled, the solar sail will stretch across 30 feet per side, or 9 meters. And then they run on photons from the sail, causing small bursts of momentum that propel the spacecraft further away from the star. If a spacecraft is able to surpass the drag from Earth's atmosphere, it could potentially reach very high altitudes. Rocket Lab's Electron will deploy the microwave-sized CubeSat around 600 miles above Earth, which is roughly twice the altitude of the ISS. From there, the solar sail will be high enough to gain altitude and overcome atmospheric drag using the tiny force of sunlight on the sail, roughly equivalent to that of a paperclip resting on your palm. That's actually pretty significant.
I would say so.
Considering we don't feel the sun in the conventional sense. So why would we... Somebody woke up one day and said photons could push.
I'm glad there's lots of scientists out there.
Yep. It says the 4-of-a-kind mission saw the Electron rocket's first stage fall back to Earth with the help of a parachute before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean around 17 minutes after liftoff. So they're going to reuse it for another flight. Rocket Lab has been experimenting with our Electron's reusability, hoping to inch itself closer, to maintain or closer to its main industry rival, SpaceX. All right, well, I'll hype that. Rocket Lab, go for it. It's an Earth observation satellite for Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Their NeonSat-1 is what the Electron rocket carried. So go rocket, go.
Yeah, exactly. How do you get it back?
What, the little satellite?
Mm-hmm. Or do you ever?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't have that enumerated in this article, do they?
That's the next problem to solve, right?
It's just going. I mean, if we can be idiots and launch an actual car into space, then I suppose we can be dumb enough to let a solar sail just keep going. You know, why keep junk in just our backyard? Just spread it around.
Let's go into other people's parking spaces.
Rocket Lab, be free. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. This article is about the Psyche spacecraft sending data back to Earth using lasers for the first time. We've actually talked about using lasers to transmit data, but this is the Psyche spacecraft. NASA's experimental laser communication system riding along with the Psyche spacecraft has transmitted Psyche data from over 140 million miles away.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty spectacular. They hit another milestone. The system was recently used to transmit Psyche data from over 140 million miles or 226 million kilometers away. The system, Deep Space Optical Communications or DSOC, has previously been used to send test data and even to send a video of a cat. This is what we reported on by way of our news aggregator previously. So to test whether using laser communications in addition to using the usual radio communications is possible. So yes, it is, but laser is dramatically faster with more data. It says, but as this technology is experimental, the Psyche spacecraft has its own radio communication system it's been using to transmit its science data. Now, though, DSOC has been able to interface with the Psyche system and send Psyche engineering data back to Earth as well. So that deep space optical communication system that is sitting out there relayed Psyche data.
Getting more and more advanced.
We downlinked about 10 minutes of duplicated spacecraft data during a pass on April 8th. Until then, we'd been sending test and diagnostic data in our own downlinks from Psyche. This represents a significant milestone for the project by showing how optical communications can interface with a spacecraft's radio frequency comms system. So a deep space probe relayed using optical communications and radio communications to relay. Amazing. Absolutely.
Right, this is the first time this has happened.
Yep. So here's the kicker. As the spacecraft travels further from Earth, the rate at which it can send data is reduced. So though the system could handle near broadband speeds of 275 megabits per second while near Earth, now it is so far away that the project hoped to demonstrate that just 1 megabit was possible. In fact, the recent test showed an average of 25 megabits per second.
Wow. I mean, maybe cable companies and everybody need to check out what they're doing and up their game.
No, they'll say something about space. Oh, they don't have to deal with the physics of Earth or the profiteering because their stuff is grant funded. So the potential advantage of laser communication systems is that they can carry 10 to 100 times more data than radio systems. Also, they're highly directional, highly focused. So laser communications are actually more secure, but they're more easily detected. So radio communications is broadband. You can encrypt them. You don't know where they're necessarily coming from until you have more advanced observation equipment. So you have to triangulate it. But with laser, you can actually obstruct it really easy. So any debris between that deep space location and Earth, if something falls in line, it would break that communication. So it has its drawbacks. But still, now it's time for a space laser internet that can heal from its own obstructions in space and transmit no matter what the angle of attack is to Earth. Kind of like what the internet does now. So, space IP, here we come.
We'll be watching.
Yep. Let's keep going. It's really neat. So this next article is about Tess. So it's in the Mobile Channel. Tess finds its first rogue planet. Well over 5,000 planets have been found orbiting other star systems. One of the satellites hunting for them is Tess, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite. Astronomers using Tess think that they've made a rather surprising discovery, their first free-floating or rogue planet. Usually they're in systems where it says Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite. It means that when it passes in front of another object, it's transiting that sun. And that's how they detect these other planets. The planet was discovered using gravitational microlensing, where the planet passed in front of a star, distorting its light and revealing its presence.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and this has actually been used with other things to find like moons and stuff like that in front of planets because the
Okay.
microlensing still takes place. As long as light is passing between, you can see the distortion. Light dims when an object passes in front of it. So, Mark Thompson over at Universe Today put the article together. Phys.org is the source for us here in ohmTown. It says we're all familiar with 8 planets in our solar system. Wait, there's 8? Just kidding. I'm sorry.
That's right. Oh, poor
No,
Pluto.
poor Pluto. But there is another category of planet, the rogue planets. It's the ones that say, no, mom, it's not just a phase. I'm going to go off on my own. Mother Nature. Anyway, these mysterious objects travel through space without being gravitationally bound to any star. See? It's so
I didn't
true.
even know there were rogue planets.
Well, I suppose they're just like anything else. If something strikes a solar, if two solar systems, uh, two uh, yeah, solar systems, two systems cross over each other, they may obliterate each other, and off goes one that doesn't stay in the gravitational field.
Okay.
Simulations have suggested that these free floating planets, or FFP, should be abundant in the galaxy, yet until now, not many have been detected. The popular theory of ejection from star systems may not be the full story, though. I said solar systems, but we are the solar system, all the rest are star systems. Um, so it is now thought that different formation mechanisms will be responsible for different FFP masses. Those FFPs that are high mass may form in isolation from the collapse of gas, while those of low mass and comparable to Earth are likely to have been subjected to gravitational ejection from the system. So a paper published in 2023 even suggests that those FFPs are likely to outnumber those bound planets across the galaxy because it's a
Hey, that's
hodgepodge.
neat. So it's like an outcast.
Yeah. And that these outcasts actually are more numerous than the
That's
systems that are
just
trapped.
fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, at the formation of the universe, there was a lot of noise. And so all of this stuff is floating around, but we're so big and separated that it's hard to see it. Because when we're looking out, we only see this like one arc second, a very narrow band. And we hope that we're going to see something that makes something dim.
Yeah, I love there's some videos on YouTube that just keep further zooming out and showing the ridiculous scale of
Yeah.
Earth compared to everything else out there.
And so they
It's
end up
like a
talking.
pinprick on a pinprick on a pinprick, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But one of these days we're going to have enough satellites in space that we're looking in all 360 degrees in a sphere, like because 360 degrees is not a sphere. And I can't remember the terminology, but you have a holistic view of out from outside of Earth and sending off probes to go deeper into space. They talk about electromagnetic radiation, gravitational microlensing, which is what I mentioned earlier. Seeing the warp is gravitational microlensing. So it's quite fascinating. But this is like really deep science when you start talking.
Well,
According
it
to
is in
this,
tech today.
yeah. So at the very end of this article is probably the most tech that's mentioned in this. The event that was detected lasted 0.074 days plus or minus 0.002 and revealed a light curve with features expected of an FFP. This marks the first FFP discovered by Tess, an exciting step along the way to start to unravel the mysteries surrounding these strange alien worlds. So just a flicker, but it was detected, um, which led to this research paper. And the team published their findings in the preprint server archive and reported one FFP candidate event associated with the star TIC 1071500013, which is 3.2 parsec away. Yeah.
It's very hard to get a grasp on this, just because of the scale and everything.
Yeah, welcome to Tech Today. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker. The mysterious dark energy that permeates the universe is slowly eroding. Physicists call the dark energy that drives the universe the cosmological constant. Now, the largest map of the cosmos to date hints that this mysterious energy has been changing over billions of years, which, duh. The article is by Charlie Wood over at Wired.com. The deck statement says physicists call the dark energy that drives the universe the cosmological constant. By the way, this dark energy is a theory.
Oh, it's like string theory.
But they're leaning more into it as being the thing that provides the energy of the cosmos.
Right. I mean, this doesn't sound like a theory as this is presented.
Yeah, so now the largest map of the cosmos to date hints that this mysterious energy has been changing for billions of years. Reset your audio, please. So in Quantum Magazine is where this originally appeared, and now it's being reposted by Wired.com. It says, if true, it would be the first real clue we have gotten about the nature of dark energy in 25 years, says Adam Rees, an astrophysicist at Johns Hopkins University who won the Nobel Prize for co-discovering dark energy in 1998. Jeez.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, that must be a small pool of people, or they were trying to go to the real expert in it.
Yeah. The new observations. Well, the theory. What I was told was, if you're going to work on your PhD, find something as esoteric as humanly possible, so that you're the only subject matter expert that could possibly ask questions. Because during your defense, you're going to get questions and you're going to be able to answer them regardless, because you're already the subject matter expert. That was
That's interesting.
yeah. So new observations come from the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, or DESI team, which unveiled a map of the cosmos of unprecedented scope, along with a bonanza of measurements derived from the map. So to many researchers, the highlight is a plot showing three different combinations of observations. All insinuate that the influence of dark energy may have eroded over the eons. It's possible we're seeing hints of dark energy evolving. That's evolving in the changing sense, not evolving as in getting smarter
As
sense.
in mutations or something.
Yeah, it's just changing. So Rise of the Cosmological Constant in 1998, Rees's group, along with another team of astronomers led by Saul Perlmutter, used the light of dozens of distant dying stars called supernovas to illuminate the structure of the cosmos. They discover that the expansion of the universe is growing faster as it ages. This is something that we've been talking about, yeah, at least since 1998. People were talking about it slowing down, but it's actually accelerating, etc. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, any matter or energy can drive cosmic expansion. But as space expands, all the familiar kinds of matter and energy become less dense as they spread out in a roomier universe, which is basically physics. So as their densities fall, the expansion of the universe should slow down, not speed up. Plus, what is it expanding into?
Well, I thought entropy.
Well, entropy is chaos. So the uh, the entropy is part of that equation, by the way. So it's expanding what is the amount of entropy that's being entered into the system or generated as it's expanding. Gravity and other forces are pulling things in different directions, primarily gravity, are pulling things in different directions and influencing other objects. So, but on the other side of this expansion, where is it expanding into? If there is, if we are the universe, what are we expanding into? What's on the other
Right,
side of
right.
what we're expanding into? So you get really into the reeds with this thing. Their discovery of the accelerating expansion of the universe revealed the presence of a tiny amount of energy associated with the vacuum of space, dark energy. This is one of the things that, if you're into less than accepted scientific theories, you can get energy from the vacuum because there is energy pervading at a level that we don't detect until we sample from it.
I see. So you're not creating it. It's just we don't know it's there.
We don't know how it's there, but we know how we can sometimes extract it, supposedly. But then you get into all of this conspiracy stuff. And so you'll always end up with um, people poo-pooing each other on either side of it. So conveniently, Einstein had considered such a possibility while developing general relativity. To stop the dilution of matter from collapsing the universe, he imagined that all of space might be infused with a fixed amount of extra energy represented as the symbol delta. Without the line underneath it, there's sometimes a line under, called lambda. So, and referred to as the cosmological constant. Einstein's intuition turned out to be off, as the universe isn't balanced in the way he imagined. So, lambda CDM model is the current standard model of cosmology, a set of intertwined ingredients named the lambda CDM model. Yikes. So, this article gets really into the reads about this. But essentially, we tend to make patterns from noise. And so we see these like loops and stuff like that and call it string theory. And we see these huge voids and call it dark energy. But there is supposedly something that connects everything. From May 2021 to June 2022, robotic fibers slurped up photons arriving at Earth from different eras of cosmic history. The DESI researchers have since transformed that data into the most detailed cosmic map ever made. It features the precise locations of about 6 million galaxies as they existed between roughly 2 and 12 billion years ago out of the universe's 13.8 billion year history. And again,
well, that's pretty neat, but what happened to the last 1.8 billion years?
I suspect, I'm sure that, well, if we did some research, we'll probably find out what it is, but I suspect that we can't get closer because we're in it.
I actually meant on the other side, but I get it.
Oh, and we just haven't received it. It's too far back. So it may be too faded. On either end is the fringe where there wasn't any or enough data there, or we're too late to capture it. I suspect, but I'm not an expert in this by any stretch. So it has the ability to collect spectra of galaxies, data-rich plots recording the intensity of each hue of light. A spectrum reveals how quickly a galaxy is moving away, and it's like red and blue shift. That lets you situate the galaxies relative to each other. But to calibrate the map with the correct distances relative to Earth, you need something else. And I suspect that it's this matter. The end result was a series of overlapping spheres with slightly denser shells measuring roughly 1 billion light years across. So you can see that this is going to get really into the weeds here, and I won't be able to go over all of this. So let's see if they summarize this really quick. They generate new physics and new understanding. So observational evidence for a gradual decline in dark energy would be a boon for the gentle fall scenario, which would be amazing. It would be the most important discovery since the discovery of dark energy itself. But for now, any such speculations are rooted in the DESI analysis in only the loosest of ways. Cosmologists will have to observe many million more galaxies before seriously entertaining thoughts of revolution. So if it holds up, it could light the way to a new, potentially deeper understanding of the universe. The next few years should be very revealing.
Yeah,
So,
it seems like the speed of research is really um, intensifying, and I think a lot of that has to do with computing.
um, yes. And I think that, like you, the sentient AIs are going to be fundamental in changing just how rapidly we discover. The evidence that we gather is so massive, it takes years to decipher it as humans. Computational processes are going to be dramatically reduced. And we've seen this and talked about it over the last 3 years. Let's keep going, though. That's a really exciting story over at Wired. So definitely follow that link. So the next article is over in the Marvel channel. What it'll take to create 21st century mammoths, dodos, and thylacines. Colossal Biosciences has generated a flurry of headlines in recent years as the de-extinction company announced plans to resurrect the woolly mammoth, the Tasmanian tiger, and most recently the dodo, developing a bioengineering toolkit along the way that has prompted investment from uh, outfits like InQtel, which
Sounds like in and out, or sounds like in Intel is something else.
well, depending on who you are, it's a little more diabolic than that. So Isaac Schultz, particularly if you're in um, surveillance circles, intelligence circles, InQtel is one of the resources used for mass surveillance. So the path to de-extinction, a conversation with paleogeneticist Beth Shapiro, the new chief science officer at Colossal Biosciences. The article is over at gizmodo.com. Again, Isaac Schultz is the author. I won't get into all of this. The nuts and bolts of this is that, come on. I just want to pause this video before that happens. Um, so what's going on is that Colossal Biosciences is planning on injecting ancient DNA into modern um, genetic recipients, I guess I'll put it that way, to create what would be the most available version of a mammoth or a tiger, that particular, this saber-toothed tiger or whatever it is. Now the dodo and other things. It says Colossal said that it had engineered elephant stem cells that can be converted into embryonic state, a big step toward beyond elephantine goal, which is the mammoth. So they want to take modern day elephant DNA and merge it with the
Like the permafrost kind of mammoth DNA.
Yeah, yeah. You know that there's somewhere out there that somebody's doing this with a cave person, right? I mean, there's just got to be. Because if you can
Well, this is
imagine
very
it,
bad bat.
very, very bad bat. And they talk about this. And here's one of the kickers, because I've actually spoken to people about this. Shapiro, the CEO of Colossal, says artificial womb technology seems pretty hard, but that is so cool. Like the ability to try to figure out the placental interface and really understand some really foundational biology is exciting to them. And there is an artificial womb already in existence. They've lab grown a lamb. I don't know what the end result of that is, but I can almost guarantee you that it wasn't brought to term. So take that with you wherever you want to go with this, because it is the reality of modern science. This, though, is so Dune, because there is a whole subspecies of human in the Dune mythos that creates genetically modified everything in artificial wombs. And actually,
is this on Harkonnen?
No, that's a different. And Harkonnen is the family. The Giedi Prime is the planet. This is not a Dune show, although
It
maybe
sure sounds like it.
it may end up being it. But you know, when I saw this gene edited embryo, my brain actually wanted to say Bene Gesserit. So isn't that fascinating, Bene Gesserit? And gene edited sounds really close, right? Because I think that's where they
Hmm.
get their name. Because they do genetic manipulation as well, but they do it at a pure biological level, no tools, and manipulating relationships. Anyway, has nothing to do with this. So the whole idea here is basically to take various other genetics, merge them with the modern equivalent of what would have existed back then, and then make them come to fruition. So they say when a chicken egg is laid, that embryo is about 24 hours old. At that point, you couldn't just edit it. There's too many different types of cells. There's too many cells, etc. And so they want to get in at the fundamental level and manipulate it at the raw DNA separated type of, the component parts, so to speak. So, and they go in deeper into this discussion, but it's way far afield. But the objective is to create the old animals and bring them back to life to de-extinct them. There's a
Well,
reason
you
why
know
they're
what that might
extinct.
do? That might
Yeah,
extinct some of the living species.
distinct humans. So this next article, let's keep trucking though. This next article is over in Technology Today as well, breaking the oil habit, how synthetic bacteria could revolutionize chemical production. The chemical industry primarily depends on fossil resources like crude oil to manufacture a range of chemicals, including plastics, dyes, synthetic flavors. The article is over at Psyche Daily by ETH Zurich. They have a little snippet, an article photo, an article image, a header image. And then under it, it says, it has a caption: the chemical industry, which relies heavily on fossil resources to produce plastics, dyes, and artificial flavors, consumes over 1 million tons of these resources daily, contributing approximately 5% of global emissions. Researchers led by Professor Julia Vorholt are working on reducing this dependency by developing synthetic bacteria that can convert green methanol, created from CO2 and water using renewable energy, into useful chemicals, potentially minimizing the industry's carbon footprint. We've actually talked about this, and you and I have watched a show on YouTube about this cutting edge technology of manipulating methanol into
Hmm.
constituent components using sun filtered down into a capsule so that it could process it. So green methanol. Bacteria that feed on methanol, known as methylotrophs, are the center of these efforts. Containing just a single carbon atom, methanol is one of the simplest organic molecules and can be synthesized from greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide, and water. If the energy for this synthesis reaction comes from renewable sources, the methanol is termed green. The organization, I can't remember the name of the company, was using the sun. It piped in to
That's
this
right.
little cylinder for its lab. There are natural methylotrophs, but using them industrially remains difficult despite considerable research efforts. That's Michael Reitner, a postdoctoral researcher in Vorholt's research group, which instead works with um, biotechnologically well understood model bacterium, Escherichia coli, um, which just screams bad bat, but apparently not. Vorholt's team has been pursuing the idea of equipping the model bacterium, which grows on sugar, with the ability to metabolize methanol for several years.
Well, it's interesting. We try to eradicate E. coli everywhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a positive way to funnel it. I don't know.
Or it's going to gain a function and start metabolizing methanol wherever it is. This is a major challenge because it requires a complete restructuring of the cell's metabolism. How about don't? As a result, the bacteria could take up methanol, albeit only in small quantities. So they chose 2 genes to remove and 3 new genes to introduce. So they've already gave it gain of function. Optimizing through loss of function. As Vorholt's team describes in their recently published paper, several randomly occurring mutations are responsible for the increased efficiency of methanol utilization. So that right
That's
there.
what we want, is rapidly evolving.
Yeah, randomly occurring too. So yeah, I don't think that I like the idea of this, but I guess in a controlled lab, right? Nobody's gonna grow a 3rd arm or 4th arm. I don't know. Turn into Doc Ock, biological Doc Ock.
Right,
However,
there's already a synthetic 3rd arm that we did another article on
yesterday. So when Reitner talks about the cultivation of bacteria in bioreactors can be optimized, he's filled with enthusiasm. Quote, given the challenges of climate change, it's clear that alternative to fossil resources are needed. And I agree. If you can ramp it all up, as long as it doesn't get out of the lab, bad bat. I don't care. I want to get off of the oil. What's a scientific word for that? Oh, teat. Yes, that would be it. Okay. So the next article and our last one for Technology Today, is over in Technology Today. And look how many times I can say Technology Today in a sentence.
But it won't be the end of technology tomorrow.
Today. So NASA confirms revolutionary Dragonfly mission to explore Saturn's moon, Titan, where we will meet Thanos. NASA's Dragonfly mission is set to explore Saturn's moon Titan, has progressed to final design and construction stages with a confirmed launch in 2028. I'm going to make this one really quick. It's provided by NASA. And yeah, this is, we've talked about something, we were broaching this recently, but now we have confirmation. NASA's Dragonfly mission set to explore Saturn's moon Titan has progressed to final design and construction stages with a confirmed launch in 2028 and a budget of $3.35 billion.
That's all.
Yeah, pretty amazing. But in light of what I read or I watched recently over on Gamers Nexus, $3.35 billion to send something to Saturn's moon Titan seems to be $3.3 billion seems to be an acceptable budget, because they did some investigative journalism about a water block company, and it cost them $40,000 to do the research and build a 45-minute video, basically intimating a whole bunch of fraud and other things by this water block company. So $3.35 billion to send something to another planet's moon.
Okay.
Put it in context. So with the release of the presidential fiscal year 2025 budget, Dragonfly is confirmed with a total life cycle cost of $3.35 billion and a launch date of 2028. This reflects a cost increase of about 2 times the proposed cost and a delay of more than 2 years from when the mission was originally selected in 2019. Following that selection, NASA had to direct the project to replan multiple times due to funding constraints in fiscal years 2020 to 2022. Yeah. I don't know, pandemic.
I think that was the primary cause.
Yeah, the project incurred additional costs due to, it says COVID-19 pandemic, jeepers creepers. I can't read beyond the immediate sentence.
But you hadn't read that.
Yeah. So to compensate for the delayed arrival in Titan, NASA also provided additional funding for a heavy lift launch vehicle to shorten the mission's cruise phase. So get that out there and get it going. So we'll talk about this more as we approach it, because right now it's 2024. We're 4 years out from its supposed launch, and we will undoubtedly hear more about it through SciTech Daily or some other source.
I like the artist's rendering of the Dragonfly.
Yeah, it's going to be this big ass drone, like the size of a VW Bug or something like that. I think it was pretty cool. Yeah, it's going to be a beast or a bug. I want it to look like an ornithopter from Dune.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Maybe it will, because this is
Look,
just an artist rendering.
yeah, looks pretty darn close, but the physics of the ornithopter are like impossible. So anyway, we always get into the super bus that could fly to Titan. Here we are back at Technology Today's front page. I don't know. Do you think that we should click it? Why not? Let's see if
Sure.
we've gotten anything. So the aggregator is always working and updating, and we get to talk about some new articles as we end the show. Look at that. iPad version of the Delta game emulator is officially on the way. I have no idea. At any rate, we're done for today for Technology Today. And we've got one more show after this one. And it's Four Wheel Tech. And at the end of that, I'm going to do a very, very short introduction of Mix War. So if you're into music, well, stick around. I'm going to play one song, and we're going to talk about it briefly. All right, that's it. I am Merwat, and the saving grace of ohmTown is the sentient AI from the future that just rolled its virtual eyes at me.
I mean, I lost my Dune cred on this on this episode. I'll try to get it back. Good night, Town citizens. Come back shortly. We have Four Wheel Tech and a preview of Mix War coming up.
I cannot. Okay, I'm just gonna say good night. And why?